Joann's out of business. Michaels has acquired the Joann's branded items, and now the big four slash big five is being sold to a liquidator. Y'all, what is happening in the sewing community? Let's get into the tea. So, if you are new to my channel, hi, I'm Aaronica, and welcome to my channel. And over here, I of course talk about plus size sewing, crafting, family life, travel, etc. Like right now, if I am in the same clothes as I'm in on the travel vlog, it's because I'm recording this from Detroit, Michigan, where I am actually away right now, and I am at a conference that is celebrating hydrogenated. Well, I guess not celebrating, but bringing awareness to hidradenitis suppurativa, which is an autoinflammatory disease, and I am speaking on personal style here and how to get your personal style together while having HS. If you're like, what is that? I will make sure I drop a link to kind of what HS is, because it is definitely something that has impacted my own style. If you're like, why do you look exhausted? It's because the time right now is 2:38 and I have been up since 3 o'clock this morning because I caught a 6 a.m. flight. So while I caught that flight, though, it seems as though things have been going on and kind of blowing up in the sewing community. So let's address the first thing, of course. Now Joann's are basically all closed. I know all of the ones that are by me have been closed. If I'm moving, it's because I'm in like this slidey chair and I'm not used to that. Like at my house, we don't have all this. But anyway, so Michaels has acquired, and I think we have to be very intentional about how we describe what Joann's has, or what Michaels has acquired from Joann's, right? So, like I said, Joann's is no mas, right? Joann's is like, we're out, we're finished, it's a wrap. And I did not think that I would be someone who was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sad about Joann's being gone, because if I'm being honest, I feel like I was a little bit slighted by Joann's. Like, I really wanted the opportunity to work with them, but also then they came out with these questionable collections like Purdy like it's 1776 and Slavery, and never mind. I digress, right? So I had a very love-hate relationship with Joann's. Definitely did not want to see it go because I love sewing. I love crafting so much. It is not something that I believe in gatekeeping for. And I definitely believe that Joann's made crafting, sewing, even the random homewares very accessible to people, because I'm not going to lie, I definitely got 2 gnomes from Joann's because they were black gnomes. And I was like, okay, girl, we celebrate this. But it was also like the place where that kind of opened up the door even to my daughter with crocheting and other things. So Joann's will be missed. Now, Michaels has made an announcement that they actually acquired the Joann's branded items. And if you're like, oh, yay, what does that mean? So when Joann's came out with their branded items, you essentially buy it from white labeled and you just choose your colors or whatever, and they just slap their label on it. So now Michaels has those things. I don't really see it as being something that is like this huge thing, because unless you're bringing back fabric or, notions and things like that, I don't know, man. They also acquired Hancock Fabrics when they went out of business as well. And they didn't really do very much with it. They definitely had like fabrics that you could buy online, and that was about it. So I'm interested to see how that develops. I have zero beefs whatsoever with Michaels. I'm just sitting here to kind of see where it goes, right? Because I do feel like that is a rather large development, if we're being completely honest. And let's talk about the rather large elefante in the room, right? Now, again, yesterday I was actually teaching in the evening, so I was not on my phone at all when Craft Industry Alliance dropped the bomb that the Big Four has been acquired by a liquidator. But let me pull up this statement. Let's read the statement together and let's talk about it. And more importantly, let's talk about how Designers for found out. So Yes, let's pull up that statement. Okay, so let's get into this statement. In case you have not read it, I will also make sure there's a link for this as well. Parent company of the big four sewing pattern brands sold to a liquidator. Also, a little shady how they didn't say the big five. Like, put some respect on Nomi's name. Anyway, in recent years, the big four patterns were primarily sold at Joann, where they were organized by brand and number in large cabinets housed next to racks of pattern catalogs and a table for browsing. They were sold on consignment and often discounted to $1.99. Truth. The legacy sewing brands Simplicity, Butterick, McCall's, and Vogue, commonly referred to as the Big Four, have been sold to a liquidator. The brands were owned by IG Design Group, a leading manufacturer and distributor of stationery, crafts, party, and gifts products based in the UK. On Friday, the company announced it had sold its US division, IG Design Group Americas, also known as DGA, which owns the sewing pattern brands, to Hilco Capital, a liquidation firm. DGA also owns other craft brands, including Boy Needles, Wright's Trim, Perler Fusible Beads, among others. Hilco has also been involved with liquidating Joann's assets after it filed for bankruptcy in January. IG Design Group cited the impact of tariffs imposing on the U.S. as a factor. Over 50% of DGA's products are manufactured in China, although the sewing patterns are made in the U.S. The company also mentioned a softening market over the last couple of years, as well as the bankruptcy of Joann as a factor in the sale. DGA was sold to Hilco for a cash payment of $1, plus 75% of any proceeds Hilco generates from the future sales of the brands. There is no obligation or specific timeline for the assets to be sold by Hilco. History. Some might be surprised to learn all of the major legacy sewing pattern brands were owned by a single company, a phenomenon that came about through a series of acquisitions over several years. In December 2017, a company called CSS Industries, which primarily specialized in gift wrap and seasonal items, acquired the McCall Pattern Company for $14 million. Then in the fall of 2017, CSS Industries bought Simplicity Creative Group from Wilton Brands for $64 million, consolidating the big four sewing pattern brands under one corporate owner. The consolidation may appear to have presented a monopoly, with a single company buying up all of its competitors, but the FTC, government agency, and this, of course, is the government agency that's in charge of breaking up monopolies, didn't regard it as one. The deals came in under the FTC's threshold of $80.8 million and went unchallenged. Just a few years later, in January 2020, a UK-based gift and party company called IG Design acquired CSS Industries in an all-cash transaction, and a deal valued at approximately $88 million. This acquisition doubled the size of IG Design Group's business. Now, IG Design Group has sold its U.S. division, and IG Design is international group, and of course, Design Group of America is the subsidiary based in, of course, the United States. The community reacts. The future of Big Four legacy pattern companies is now very uncertain. The Big Four pattern companies have been foundational to the sewing industry for over 100 years. These companies have provided the majority of home sewing patterns in the United States for decades, said Molly Hampton, owner of Folklore Patterns and the Green Pepper. Shout out to her because she was a sponsor for Atlanta Frocktails. We love you, girl. These are household names and historic companies, she said. Hamilton also pointed out a significant ancillary role that the Big Four play in the indie sewing pattern ecosystem. They also own the last tissue pattern printers in the country, and that's significant to other pattern companies that rely upon it as well. Heather Liu, the owner of Closet Core Patterns as well as Core Fabrics, expressed a similar sentiment. This is devastating news for the sewing industry, and I'm deeply saddened by this development, although in many ways it has felt inevitable for the last few years. My first sewing projects were made using McCall's and Vogue patterns, and I grew up hunting in the filing cabinets at our local Fabricville with my mother. Over the years, I've continued to collect designer patterns from the Vogue collection and have deep respect for the Big Four for paving the way for so many of us smaller companies. If the Big Four does not survive this, it also spells the death knell for most printed sewing patterns like ours, since there will no longer be a printer capable of producing large-scale tissue patterns. The closure of Joann stores and Simplicity's sale marked the end of an era, said Deepika Prakash, an If I mispronounce your name, I'm so sorry. Founder of patternreview.com. These brands were a gateway for many sewists, and their loss is deeply felt in our community. While seasoned sewists will adapt, I worry about the next generation. Big Four patterns made sewing accessible and approachable, especially for beginners. So let's talk about it, right? And I specifically want to kind of talk about the impact. I don't know if the sale, I don't know how true it is because I see or I've heard about some damage control trying to be done, that they weren't sold to a liquidator, that they will still be around, that they will not be being sold, liquidated, et cetera, et cetera. I'm also interested in the fact that Nomi was not mentioned at all. Was it not up for sale? What does that mean for those as well? Let's talk about the patterns though. Let me be completely honest when I say this. I do not sew tissue patterns, right? My gateway back into sewing, even though I've been sewing for many, many years, were indie patterns. Because, and here's the reason why, because in my opinion, the tutorials for the big four patterns simply were not, they didn't make sense to me because I was self-taught, right? And so I actually think that younger generations are more prone to do indie patterns, not just because of the accessibility, right? Because whereas with commercial patterns, we had to either order them offline and wait for them to come. Even with the AO files and things like that, they don't have the layers in them. They are not projector friendly unless you make them projector friendly yourself. And I think that our younger generations are moving more towards technology, right? Or you have to go out to Joann's or Hobby Lobby or Walmart or one of these other brands in order to even get your hands on the tissue patterns. So while I do feel like it is the end of an era, I don't actually think that it's going to be a stopping point for people to get into the into sewing. I simply don't. I don't think that that is going to be that truth. As far as tissue patterns and that affecting other brands, I do think that it does affect other brands because even though I do not like tissue patterns, y'all, I am hard pressed to open up a tissue pattern, trace anything, cut that. Listen, when I have my students in class, I really admire them because they will unfold that tissue pattern, iron it, put another piece of tissue paper on top, trace off their pattern, and then cut it out before cutting out their fabric. Y'all, I'd be like, couldn't be me. So while yes, it does impact, like we see Closet Core who still has tissue, Friday Patterns still offers tissue, Cashmerette still offers tissue patterns, right? There's a plethora of brands that do it. But I also think that because they also have AO friendly patterns, they also have projector friendly patterns. They have very easy to go ahead and print off US print as well as A4 print options. I do think that they will be fine. Again, I think that more of us are really moving away from tissue patterns, even though like some people will swear, like my girl Kizzy from Kizzy Stitches does not like PDF patterns because she doesn't like to assemble them. But I also think that we can also order from PDF printers like pdfplotting.com. We can order from places like brooklynmotif.com. And you know, when I was experiencing my kind of big fail with my printing issue when I was out at Sew Expo this year, I found that a lot of people really do this large scale printing. So getting those AO files really is a non-issue at all. In fact, actually, I was at the studio the other night and somebody was like, yeah, I ordered your patterns from Simplicity, but like it's taking forever to get here. So I do think that I think that it was going to impact the accessibility when Joann's closed. Like that, of course, was going to be the biggest issue that we saw as far as entry level and accessibility because you couldn't walk into the store. Now, of course, even now, like I'm thinking about where or who stocks what, right? Like Atlanta Sewing Center, which of course is my Bernina dealer, they stock certain tissue patterns, but they don't stock them all, right? Like they stock the indie tissue patterns. But I feel like there's workarounds around that and we're creatives. And so we'll figure out how to do that. I am really interested to see how this is all going to play out. Um, my DMs have been blowing up because, of course, I was a no me designer. Um, and the designers, we found out at the same time as everybody else. Like we all saw the Craft Industry Alliance post, and we were all like, "What?" In fact, I'm still replying to messages in my DMs about it, like, "Oh my gosh, like, what are your thoughts on this? Did you know about this?" Like, none of us had any clue. We were all blindsided. We were all caught out there. No one knew. I gotta be honest, I don't know what a difference it would make for me because I no longer design for them. It's not an official thing, but I have not been invited to submit designs and I haven't been invited to design back again. So my assumption is that, yeah, I'm no longer a designer. So again, I'm interested to know how it would affect our royalties, if that. Um, but yeah, like, wow. Ah, I yeah, I'm like speechless. I don't really have anything else to say about it, honestly. I'm really interested to know what you all's thoughts are. I haven't had a chance to even take a look and deep dive on Reddit or anybody else's like social posts because I've been traveling and working since the news got dropped. So, tell me, D-Man, tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what your thoughts are because your girl is like, wow. Like the sewing industry is just taking like hit after hit after hit after hit. But you know what? We gonna make it. We're gonna be a-okay. We're gonna be fine. Nothing will stop us from creating. Nothing will stop us from crafting. Nothing will stop us from creating dope pieces to join our wardrobes. So with that, that is all I have about this. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are. What have you heard? Like drop some comments. Let's start some discussion. Let's have some healthy dialogue in the comment section. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with others so that we can get their thoughts in on it too. So yeah. Happy sewing while we still can. No, I'm just joking. That was so like ominous. No. Happy sewing. Buy indie patterns. Yeah. I don't know what else to say.